In order for your spiritual man to grow, your natural man has to be dealt with.
When it comes to self-assessment, you have to be comfortable with looking at the pieces of yourself that are not necessarily good.
We don't deal with issues like we should. And like you said, we have those outbursts. And your response is that I'm going to protect me before you hurt me. I'm going to get you before you get me. Assessment of that, the hurt, like you said, it could be from childhood trauma. It could be verbal abuse. It could be sexual abuse. It could be any of those things. And we bury it. But certain things come about that trigger us.
There are so many people who are unhappy with their lives, and they're not taking a step. And the thing about, when I think about faith takes work. It takes action.
Yes, it does.
Going to the root isn't easy. Doing a self-assessment isn't easy, but it's necessary. And we have to be brave enough, because my goal in life is to be at peace within.
Yes. Welcome back to Let's Talk with Pastor C. And today I am so excited because I have a dear friend of mine, a sister of mine, who's here, Dr. Danielle Jennings. But, at Let's Talk with Pastor C, we don't go by titles and all that stuff. So it's just going to be Cornell and Danielle today.
Yes.
This topic is a very passion for me, because I don't know if you know it, but we're in a generation and time now where people are not taking accountability for their doing, whether it be in relationships, family things, everybody just won't take accountability. And I've noticed when I'm talking to people lately, it's like no one wants to do a self-assessment. And I think a self-assessment is very important that you do, if not twice a month, once a month, to not validate, but to look and to see what's going on. What am I contributing? What am I doing? Why is this always happening?
Right.
What's going on? So we want to talk about that today, self-assessment. And I thought about getting you to come because, recent conversations that we've had, I see that you understand. You get it.
Yeah.
It's not easy to do a self-assessment and look at yourself.
Right.
But before we go there, give us a little background about Danielle.
A little bit of background. Well, I grew up in Newark, and to a single parent, and I guess growing up the oldest, you were always just responsible.
Right.
And I'm married. I went to school. You mentioned that I have a doctorate. And so I guess my life's work and my life's passion is to help people and to help mentor people.
Right.
Also, I help organizations as well. So I think when you talk about self-assessment, that's what I do for companies.
Wow.
I go into companies and I assess. We call it discovery. And so, and we help companies see where they are, where they should be, and then where they're going. So this is just a part of who I am.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like the word you discovery because I think a lot of times people don't really discover who they are as a person. Like I said earlier, this is a passion of mine because I recall in my life, I remember when I was going through some stuff and I finally said to myself, I better go see and sit down and talk to somebody. And I use this a lot. The therapist said to me, go home and write down who are you. Don't think about it, just write it. And I did it. And she said, next session, we're going to come back, you're going to read it.
Yeah.
So I came back and I was happy. I was like, oh, I'm this, just writing. But when I got there and sat and started reading, I broke down because as I was reading, I realized I was what everybody else wanted me to be and not who I was designed to be.
Wow.
So what would you say, because you said you go into companies to help them assess, how would you navigate or talk to someone to tell them, this is what you need to do. This is where you need to go, what you need to focus on. What would you say? What would you do?
Well, first off, if someone come to me and they want to know, how do I do it? The first thing is they're already in a crisis. Because either they're in a loop of, the same thing happening over and over again, or they're in an unhappy place. And the first thing I'll say is you have to first take a look at, like you did, where are you? If I may, in terms of just give my own example,
Right.
I had did some work for a church leader, and I wrote a book. I ghost wrote it for this person, and I got to a place where I was angry, and I was angry for years.
Wow.
I was angry for years, and it wasn't until I spoke with a friend of mine, and he said, "Okay, tell me what happened." And, I told him what happened. I said, "Yeah, we had a verbal agreement." And, I said, initially, I said, should we sign an agreement? And the person said, "No, you know me." And I was like, "Okay." And I went with it. So my friend said, "Why didn't you at that moment say, no, we need a contract?"
Right.
And I said, "Because I trusted him." And he said, "But why?" He said, "Because he was a church leader." So he actually forced me to look inside myself and say, why did I not value my work?
You're right.
So, and that self-assessment allowed me to see me in that situation. A lot of times when things happen, we want to look at the other person.
That part.
Yeah,
Right.
is you did this to me, but why did I allow it? So when I try to help someone when it comes to self-assessment, it's truly, the first thing is that you have to be comfortable with looking at the pieces of yourself that are not necessarily good, that need work.
Right.
And so that reality is the very first thing before even moving on to anything else.
And it's something, because I've been recently talking to a lot of people, and do you think a lot of people are afraid of really doing a self-assessment of themselves because they're going to find out some really ugly things about themselves, and they may not want to accept what they're seeing about themselves? And if it's so, why is that? Why do you think that is?
Because it's not easy, it's not easy.
It's
It's not easy. In order to protect ourselves, we create this vision of ourselves, this
Wow.
illusion of who we are. And, the reality is, my husband can tell me, because he lives with me, this is who you are. If I ask you, you can give me your version of who I am. And I actually, at the conference, I mentioned I was at a women's conference, and one of the presenters said, go to 5 people and ask them, who do you see me as?
Wow.
And she said, she did that, and someone came back to her with something, and she was like, that's not me. But then she had to sit with it, because the people that you're asking, you trust them. And so it's not easy sitting with the reality of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
If I think back to who I was back then, I was, a young girl looking for, dealing with daddy issues, right? These are true realities. And because of that, I allowed myself to not value myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't easy. But taking inventory of yourself and sitting with it. And a lot of times we don't want to sit with that.
Right.
We don't want to sit with, what, I was insecure at that time, because that means I'm not perfect. And the truth is, we don't have to be perfect.
Exactly.
We don't.
Exactly.
We don't.
Exactly.
So it's that fear of not being perfect. It's the fear of realizing who we truly are. And it's okay to be that person at that moment.
It is. And do you also think people want validation from others, and instead of validating yourself?
Yeah. I'm gonna go back to that young Danielle. I wanted validation, and sometimes we go to, and this was a church leader, so I'll say we go to church looking for validation in our church leaders, putting them on a pedestal that they were never meant to stand on.
Right.
But that was something, that, we're born, not born into it, but we're taught, that we reverence our leaders in this way. And it's truly unhealthy. Because really the validation, it has to start from within.
From within.
Because once I, looked at who I was able to change. But, I know.
And that's the part right there. When you really do a deep assessment of yourself and you deal with the ugly you, you deal with the you that you want to deal with, or the you that you've been hiding. Because a lot of times I think foundational things that happen when you get hurt in the church, at a church, from family members, from friends, all of that causes a wall to come up. And then you start, like you said earlier, you're pointing fingers at everybody else. But then the common denominator is, okay, if you're going through the same thing over and over again, what's the problem?
What's the problem?
Who's the problem?
Yeah.
It's not them. You have to look at you.
Yeah.
And then when we deal in the church world, we were taught so many things. You keep your mouth shut, you pray to God. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I said, go pray to God. But you have to deal with the natural man.
Yeah.
That foundation of hurt and anger and everything has to be dealt with, but we are not taught in the church world. Take a break, take an assessment of yourself. What's going on?
And you mentioned it earlier. You said that you went to a therapist.
Yes.
I will go to a therapist
Listen.
whenever I feel the need.
Listen.
Because that's a part of it. That's a part of the self-assessment. Because like you said, either we grew up this way, we were taught this way, and some things need to be unlearned. And we can't unlearn them by ourselves.
We can't. It's nothing wrong with getting help from the outside. Because, growing up in church, you don't go sit on the couch and you go to God.
No.
And again, yes, I go to God. I love the Lord with all my heart, mind, and I love him. Love him.
Yes.
But the natural man needs to be dealt with.
Yeah.
In order for your spiritual man to grow, your natural man has to be dealt with.
Yeah.
And you're going to need help dealing with that. And I'm looking in the body of Christ in the church world, and I can tell so many people are not taking accountability or doing a self-assessment on themselves. And that's why they're out here making a mockery.
Yeah.
And still in the same cycle. So how would you tell a person that's been hurt for years and now they're in a state where it is what it is. I am who I am. How would you tell them to break down that foundation of hurt and pain and do a self-assessment of you? What would you tell them?
It's interesting. I've had conversations with people in that same spot, and they were like, I am never going to church again. And the sad thing about it is we truly need community.
Yes.
Right. And that's what church represents. Well, it should represent, our spiritual community where we can go and be strengthened. And, I was talking to this person and I said, number one, maybe a part of your self-assessment is that you need to start with a therapist to deal with the hurt. Right. Then that will help you, equip you with the tools so that you can effectively look inside and say, okay, and they will actually guide you through that process if it's that type of trauma.
Right.
Now, everyone doesn't have that type of trauma where they need to go to a therapist. If it's not at that level and you just like, I'm done, I don't want to be bothered, really, we have to understand that the self-assessment allows us to see our behaviors. And I would just say, start thinking about what you don't like. You saying, they did this to me. But then, okay, they did this to you, but what was your response?
Whoa, yes.
Right? So if your response is when someone says something, you flip, where's that anger coming from?
Where?
Or if it's the opposite, you internalize, why are you doing that? Why am I doing that? Why am I reacting in the way that I'm reacting? And is the way I'm reacting healthy?
Mm.
Because either extreme isn't healthy.
Either extreme isn't healthy. And you said something right there. Where's the root of it coming from?
Mm-hmm.
And we never deal with the root of it. We bury it, and then we allow triggers to come, and then we have our outbursts.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go back in, and we shut down, and we go back to like everything is normal. When it hits like that, how can we help that particular person to go and deal with the root of it? And is there a fear because they might know what it's all about, but they don't want to deal with it?
Well, when we think about the root, going to the root of it, it's difficult because you could be talking about going to the root of something happened in my family. This person has nothing to do with it.
Right.
But something happened to me years ago, and now this is triggering me.
Mm-hmm.
So going to the root isn't easy. Doing a self-assessment isn't easy, but it's necessary. And we have to be brave enough, because my goal in life is to be at peace within.
Yes.
I need to have peace.
You need to have it.
I need to have peace. And when we think about, the what comes out of not doing the self-assessment and coming to terms with who we are, either we could be at both ends, either end of the spectrum at any time. It could lead to a depression. It could lead to us, people working so much that they're not, that they're not present. So, our goal should be to be, whole in every area of our lives.
And it's something how we as human beings, how we get hurt, we get wounded. And I say the mind is a very powerful weapon, because it will cause you to bury the hurt. Mm-hmm. Like you said, it could be from childhood trauma, it could be adulthood trauma, it could be verbal abuse, it could be sexual abuse, it could be any of those things, and we bury it. But certain things come about that trigger us. Mm-hmm. And like you said, we have those outbursts. And your response is that I'm gonna protect me before you hurt me. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna get you before you get me.
Absolutely.
It's not gonna happen ever again. Mm-hmm. And when we don't take assessment of that and work on it, we're gonna always continually be trapped. And that's the sad part that I see happening to a lot of our people. Mm-hmm. We don't deal with issues like we should.
Right.
We can't sit down and have a conversation without getting
blown up.
Yeah. Without blowing up. Mm-hmm. and you blow up, what was accomplished? Nothing. And then the crazy part is you feel like you were in the right. Mm-hmm. And technically you were not in the right. Because if someone is trying to help you, because the truth hurts.
Yeah. It does.
It hurts.
It does.
And I found that out during my process of this, and I had to change my mindset. Cornell, if it's hurting you, then you need to stop and listen and absorb what's being said before you respond.
Right, because it's like when you're in pain, if you have a sharp pain, that means you need to tend to it. You may need to do something.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we as a people, we boom, who you talking to, and don't want to sit down and absorb. Well, maybe they're right. Let me look at myself. Let me see. Why is it that we just don't like to see ourselves for who we really are?
When I think about that, it's almost as if I say something is wrong with me, then that takes you didn't, it's almost like taking something, what you did to me is taking it away. And it's not really, you're releasing yourself. It's almost like we're driven by hate, we're driven by anger, we're driven by all of these negative things, but actually peace comes when we let go.
Wow.
When we release, when we say, Lord, I give it to you, and I'm just gonna gonna let you have it. But it's almost like if we don't have that anger, then we don't know who we are.
No, right. And you just said something because I'm laughing with myself because I prayed that prayer, Lord, I'm giving it to you. But the Lord also had to teach me that, again, I keep saying it, there's a natural side. There's a natural man that you have to work on.
Yeah.
Because if you're angry naturally, when you go to church, you're going to be angry.
Yeah.
You're going to walk in angry. Nobody's going to want to talk to you because you have this anger look. That's the natural side of you.
You said an anger look.
You got that anger look.
You got that anger look.
You come in and you sit down in church like, don't you talk to me? Don't
Everybody
you touch
know
me?
you angry.
Right. Don't say nothing to me. And then you'll see a person that plays the part of being happy, but inner man is crying out like, I'm hurting, I'm wounded. What can I do to heal? Self-assessment is so needed in the world, period. But in the body of Christ, there's healing that needs to be taking place, but we got to start with doing a self-assessment of our lives, of ourselves.
Right.
Because we have built so much till we become counterfeit. We're not real.
Right.
Do you think it's important for a person to always be real with themselves?
Absolutely. Because we're good at going to church. We're good at it. When that right chord hit, we know what to do.
Know what to do.
But when we go outside the church, there are so many people who are unhappy with their lives. They're unhappy with, their family, and they're not taking the step. And the thing about, when I think about faith takes work. It takes action.
Yes, it does.
So if we want to be happy, if we want to move from point A to point B, we have to do the work. And self-assessment is saying, okay, we know you love God. Oh, sit it over here. Now let's do the work. Because at the end of the day, where are you trying to reach? Where are you trying to go? What do you want from your life? And we have to think about that. At the top of every year, this year I said, okay, this is what I want from my life from this year. We have to become intentional. And if not, we're going to stay in that same loop. We're going to stay in that same, unhappiness.
Yes.
Stay in that same way of just being unhappy. And, I was talking to a friend, and her mother told her before she passed away, her regrets.
Wow.
Had her mother did an assessment along the way, like, you said, well, do an assessment, once a month. Some people may need to do it every day.
Every day, yeah.
Until you get to the place where you can do it, twice a month and then once a month. But, there is no real true method or methodology around it, but it should be done. I even do it in my marriage, where I'll say, DJ, where are we? How do you feel right now? How do you feel about the marriage? Because if we don't do that, we just allowing things to go, and we lose each other.
Right. And that's powerful right there, because when you don't let it go as a single person, you lose you. And then what you start to doing is you'll start to gravitate towards people that you feel like is going to validate you, or give you that comfort that you need when in actuality they're not for you. And then you start picking up their attitudes, their attributes, their words, their actions. So then you start to become a phony person because you're
Right.
not you. And I think it's so important for people to do self-assessment, to be aware of who they are and then accept who they are.
Accept. And self-awareness, because that's what self-assessment does, is just one piece of it. It's just one piece of it. Then we need to put the plan together of how we're going to change. Because I know people who are self-aware. they know their boundaries, they know what you can do, how far I'm going to let you go with me. They are very clear on their self-awareness, but when it comes to change, they're stagnant. So self-awareness is just, or even the self-assessment is just one piece of it. We have to be willing to make the plan of how I'm going to change. And that's one of the things that I do with companies. We look at where you are, where you want to be, and what is the plan to get there. And, I know it seems very structured, but if we don't make a plan, we will never do it. And the plan could be, I'm going to read books on this topic.
Right.
Or I'm going to go see a therapist. Or, when I first started, I was in a very bad place, and I went on YouTube and I found this video. I can never find it again. It was Anthony Robbins, and he talked about how to move away from negativity or thinking negative thoughts. And he said, go on a negativity fast.
Wow.
And he said, you begin to, whenever he said that it's not that you can't think negatively, but you shouldn't dwell on it. So whenever you dwelled on it, you have to restart the fast all over again. So I did it. It took me a while, but that was a part of, I made an assessment. I knew that where I was in my mental was just, it wasn't where I needed to be. And I said, okay, that was how I was going to change. So the method of changing can be different based upon what the need is. But we have to move from self-assessment to change. What is the plan of how I'm going to get there?
And I do believe a lot of people are so comfortable where they are that when you say that word change, it scares them. Because change pulls you out of your element of safety, what you're comfortable with, what you're used to doing. And we want to stay there because it's just so comfortable. Like, I have a blanket that when I really, really want to go to sleep, I grab that blanket because that's where I'm comfortable at. And if I leave it in the living room and I don't have it, I will get up out the bed and go get it because it's what I'm used to.
Yeah.
And that's how I believe a lot of people are. They're so comfortable where they are that change frightens them. What would you say to push someone to say, no, you gotta go for change. No matter how, you gotta go.
Do it anyway. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Do it afraid. Make the change and, trust people, just do it anyway. Whatever the change that's needed, do it anyway, because it is uncomfortable.
Very.
Yeah, and when I used to teach baptism classes, I would always tell people that salvation is a process.
It is.
It's not like you get saved and all of a sudden everything is perfect, but it's a process. So even in this self-assessment and the change part, pick one thing. I picked at that time, I wanted to change my thought process. I wanted to move away from being negative and move to a more positive way. So I chose that one thing and I worked on that one thing till I got to the place where, okay, I'm good now. Let me choose the other thing, because it can be a lot.
I like that. That's powerful right there. Because I think a lot of times we try to do everything at one time. And that's so true. Pick one thing. Because that one thing, I'm just sitting here thinking and I'm smiling, that one thing brings growth. And then it prepares you for the next one that you pick.
Yep.
Until you get it all together so that you can have peace
Yeah.
from within. And people don't have peace because they don't want change.
They don't want change and they want to stay where they are, but they know where they are is uncomfortable. They're not happy. They're depressed, have anxiety.
Oh, we don't even want to go
Right,
there.
right.
And that's what the anxiety level of people in the church is so on a high right now. I hear so many people say, I'm having anxiety attacks out of nowhere. And as I sit and start talking with them and I'm listening, I'm like, wow, I talk and be like, yo, you got to deal with your issues. Because if you don't, I'm going to give this story. I've never had a problem driving over bridges or going in tunnels. When my mom passed away, I went into a state of serious depression. I was going out preaching, prophesying, praying, going to work, doing all my daily stuff that I'm used to doing. Go home, shut the door. My place was a mess. I just got into bed, kept the shades down, and that was it. One time I was driving to Maryland, and I went through the tunnel, and all of a sudden I had an anxiety attack. I started sweating. I couldn't breathe. And when I came to the tunnel, I said, God, what is going on? What's happening to me? Why am I, this is never, and so I prayed, I said, God, just get me through the tunnel and get to my destination and I'll be all right. Thank God he did just that. But when I got to my room, I called my therapist who I haven't spoken to, and I went in to see, and come to find out, I had so much tragedy of losing family members, which started with my sister. Out of nowhere, she died. I didn't deal with the grief. My aunt died. I didn't deal with the grief. My niece suddenly died. I didn't deal with the grief. My father, I didn't deal with the grief. But when my mother died, all of that old grief was causing me to go into a state of depression because I felt like my world was gone. So I sat and I began to talk, and she helped me realize that when grief comes, deal with it. But I was taught, be strong for everybody else, but who was strong for Cornell? Cornell put the smile on. Cornell, did what he had to do, but behind closed doors, this man was about to go crazy. And nobody really knew it. Because like you said earlier, when I got in church, I knew how to rise. The spirit man knew how to rise up. Be.
Right.
But then there was that unbalance. So I had to do a self-assessment and deal with the grief. And was it easy? No. But I had to do it. And I believe a lot of people, we push things in the back and say, oh, I'll deal with it later. But then life is so busy, you forget about it. And you, all of a sudden, boom, it will hit you. How can we as leaders, because you're a leader at your church, I'm a leader where I'm at, how can we sit and watch in our different places where we're leaders? And I don't know if I believe you have this gift. You can see someone's going through something. As leaders, how can we reach out to them? Because now a lot of people don't trust
That is true.
anymore because
That is true.
they've been hurt so much in church. They don't want to say nothing. But we see it and we want to say something. How can we approach a particular person like that?
The one thing when I was listening to you, came to me is that we are spirit, soul, and body. We are so complex, right? When we think about the way God made us, we are so complex. And when I see someone going through, I remember that because even I was complex.
Right.
I'm still complex, right? And the thing about it is, the one thing I try to do is let people know I'm a safe space. So whatever it is, if you want to curse, if you need to, I'm real. I'm real. Whatever it is, however I want you to know that whatever it is that you need to say to get it out,
Say it.
I am a safe space. And I'm not going to go, so and so. No. I allow people to be them in my presence, and and then they become comfortable with me where they can start to share. It's great being, I believe in God, and I love
Right.
God. But there are some truths and there's some realities that we need to meet people where they are. And to me, that's being that safe space. Yeah.
The Lord met us where we are, and He accepted us. So, in return, why can't we do the same when we see a soul? Instead of judging them so quick, oh, you cursed in front of me. I don't allow that. Let them, I tell people all the time, have your moment.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm here. Have your moment. It's a safe space. Like you said, it's a no judgment zone. I'm
Right.
not going to judge you.
Right.
Because guess what? Where you are, I've been there.
I've been there.
That's why I connect. I've been there. So I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to do that. And in the church, in the body of Christ, Danielle, we judge so fast
Yeah.
instead of helping.
Right, right.
We
Right.
tear down so fast instead of helping. We talk about them so fast instead of helping, which all we're doing is adding more to them to close down.
To close down.
To close down. I've been hurt by so many leaders, and truth be told, there were times I did cuss a few of them out. I'm being real. I wasn't saved then, but I told them off. But as I did my self-assessment when I matured, guess what I did? I went back and apologized. Some of them said they're sorry, and some of them didn't say nothing. They felt like because I went with the words or the attitude that they were right, so they didn't apologize. And I let them know, you did X, Y, and Z, but I should not have responded that way.
Right.
So on my behalf, I'm coming to you and say, I'm sorry. When someone completes a self-assessment, because when you complete a self-assessment of yourself on a daily basis, every 2 months, every month, however you do it, when you find yourself that you have offended someone, what should they do?
Like what you did. What you did, you just go and you say you're sorry. You whether or not they receive it, that's on them.
That's on them.
And you can't control anyone's actions or how they feel, but you've done your part.
I want to ask this question. When self-assessment, when a person really, I'm going to put this on you. When you really did a self-assessment on you, and just think about it one particular time, when you saw the results, how did you feel?
Well, if I go back to, I ghost wrote for that leader, and it was at a time when we were struggling financially. We really needed the money, and the agreement was we were going to split it, and then it didn't happen. I was taking wads of money to the house.
Wow.
And never took a dime. And and then I was just angry because I was like, how could you do this? And I was just so angry. But once I did this self-assessment and I realized, Danielle, you played a part in it because you did not require. And you were looking at the leader, you trusted the leader more than you trusted your own instinct. Because my first instinct was, let's have an agreement. Then I had to go through the phases of it. It's almost like dealing with yourself. It's almost like dealing with grief almost, because you're dealing with, wow, I'm not what I'm great, but I'm not that great. And so I had to go through this feeling of grief and then acceptance of, okay, Danielle, this is who you are. Then I changed. That actually moved me to being able to go towards forgiveness because I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't holding this in my heart, and I truly let it go. So when I see that person, I am free.
Free.
You know, and I don't talk negatively about that person. There is nothing in my heart holding me back. And in that, I've seen God work in my life, open doors that I could not open. And I've seen him do things that I could not be able to do that. But if I had not done that work, I would not have been in the place to receive what he has for me.
Self-assessment is work. It takes work.
It's work. It's work.
It takes work. It takes time for you to process. Because there's some things that when I did self-assessment, I just recently went through something and I stopped and I was like, Cornell, where are you at in this? And this, I want this to help a lot of people out here. Stop and question yourself, where am I at in this? What part am I playing in? Before you say anything, before you go to the person, before you respond, before you react, take accountability. What part have I played in this? Because if we look over our past lives, and whether it be in relationship, friendships, and stuff, because of us not healing properly, I don't know why I'm going here, but I tell people all the time, when you come out of one relationship, don't jump right into another one. Do a self-assessment of yourself, but they don't do that.
So you don't repeat. You end up with the same person.
They'll look different. They'll smell different. They'll be all different, but you've drawn the same type of person because you have not done a self-assessment. You have not grown to the part where you can see this is past, not future.
And that's for even women who are abused,
Yes.
right? Because they go from relationship to relationship without doing that self-assessment, and they go from one abuser to the next abuser until they say enough is enough and do that self-assessment and say, why am I attracting this? What is it about me that, that I need to change so that I can change what is coming to me?
What is coming? And even through my self-assessment, my therapist, take yourself out. And my nephew started doing it. My niece is starting to do it. Because back then, it's like you were told, if you go out by yourself, people going to look at you, something's wrong with you. But I have a thing called date night with Cornell.
I love it.
I take myself out and I eat, I sit, I enjoy myself. And sometimes I start conversation with other people. And it's good to talk to other people outside of church.
Right. Exactly. Right. We need different perspectives.
Right. You need it. I don't want to be around church people. I love them. I want to be around them all day long.
Right.
It's good to have conversations where you can laugh and just, they're not looking at you as pastor or deacon or minister or whatever. They look at you as a person that's out enjoying themselves, having dinner and good conversation.
Yeah.
And I started doing that, and it helped Cornell learn that I'm not going to accept what I give for myself. If you can't come with what I do for me, there's a problem.
Right.
That's a big problem.
That's a big problem.
So self-assessment is so important in this season for people to do so that they can grow, because it's time to grow.
Yeah.
God is soon to come. We hear it all the time. But if you look out in the world and what's being fulfilled through the Bible, he's soon to come. Do your self-assessment, grow. Get what you're supposed to have while you're here on this earth. And enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
And something you said, peace. Nothing like peace.
Sweet peace. There's nothing like it. Where I can go to sleep and rest.
What?
And rest, not tossing and turning, getting up several times a night because of stress and anxiety and situations. Peace.
And even with self-awareness, when you do self-awareness within yourself, you become peaceful, but then you also realize, I'm not going to worry, I'm not going to be concerned. Why? Because when you really built yourself and you tore down all of that negativity, all of that hurt, you've apologized, you've done all of the work for you. Now you have a closer relationship with God. I could not be where I am today if I didn't work on Cornell. And that's the honest truth.
It empowers you. You're empowered because you know who you are. The
That
real
part.
you, not that hurt you, because that's not you.
Yes. That's the key word. Thank you. And I say it all the time. I know who I am because I've done the work. I've done the work for Cornell. Is there more work still? Yes.
Absolutely. It's a journey. Life is
It's
a
a journey.
Yeah, yeah.
And now where I am with Cornell, where I am with God, it's wonderful. Because I see what God has brought me from, what he's done for me, and what he's going to continue to do. But then it took work.
Yeah.
It took time.
Time. And we got to be okay with time. It's not microwave.
No. Time and patience.
Yeah, it takes time.
Took. And even with you, you could agree with this. Even in that process, I still made some mistakes.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. And there were times when I may revert back to the old way of thinking, right? Or, getting to a place where, I started being bad. Sometimes we do it to ourselves. Like I was like, well, what was wrong with me? Why didn't I? But it's okay that you didn't. And we got to be okay because that put us in a whole nother loop, whole nother.
And it's crazy because you're right. You do go back. You will, for a moment, go back. Why didn't I? And you start beating yourself up.
Yes, that's what I was trying to. Yeah.
You beat yourself up, and I used to do that so many. I used to do it all the time. Like, Courtney, you dummy. Why'd you do it? But when I started doing the self-assessment of myself and start learning to love me for me,
Yep.
all that shift and all that change. And I also know how to love God with all my heart now. Because Cornell was in the way of a lot of things because he didn't take a self-assessment and heal from so much. If you were to say anything to anybody out there that's hearing this podcast right now and that's going to hear it, what encouragement would you give them to say, hey, Danielle is telling you it works?
It truly works because I wouldn't be Dr. Danielle Jennings had I not taken the self-assessment. Because I grew up, like I said, we were poor. And it wasn't easy. So I had to deal with, that young Danielle and in order to become who I am. Because as you do your self-assessment, it's not only about looking at the negative, but you also start looking at the positive. And I am big on affirmations. I am big on, who I am as a person. And when you fortify yourself with who you are on a daily, man, you can conquer mountains. You can conquer challenges in your life because you're not focused on what somebody did to you. I know you did that. However, this is, you can choose your path. You can choose the way that you go.
Right.
So it's you empower yourself and you take your power back by doing the self-assessment and whatever dreams you have, whatever, God has called you to do, you are able to do it because you've done the work, you've empowered yourself, now you can go forward.
You can go forward. You can definitely move forward. And my prayer for this podcast, this moment, this time, this segment, is that someone will take pieces of it out of here and you learn, okay, I have to examine myself. I hope it hits somebody's heart real hard. I hope it hits somebody's mind real hard that, hey, I get what they're saying now. Let me try it.
Just one thing.
One
thing.
thing. Let me try it. And we're going to be praying with you and for you that you get there. because prayer, yes, prayer works. I'm a living witness. Prayer works. But I say, please take a self-assessment. Sit down in a quiet place. Take a pen and a pad or your tablet and just start writing down one thing.
Just one.
This week, I'm going to deal with this.
Right, right. And you may need to stay with that one for a while.
What? Then go to number 2.
Yeah,
Go to number,
yeah.
and just keep going and keep going until it becomes a norm.
Yeah, and that's it. And then you start seeing the change within yourself. Yes.
And
yes.
I'm telling you from examples of what I went through in my life, you're going to feel so good about yourself. Because I had people that may not know, but I have very low self-esteem. My self-esteem was so low. But now, I'm not bragging, but I love who I am.
Absolutely.
And I will walk amongst anybody now.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
Because I know who I am.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of people don't like it, but hey, that's on you.
Right, right.
I worked too hard.
Too hard.
To get where I am. I worked too hard for this smile to always be on my face. I worked too hard. I worked too hard for my peace of mind, my peace of spirit. I worked too hard. Danielle, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. Danielle is someone that you need to get to know. Do you have any social media hits where people can hit you up? And if they have any questions?
Well, my Facebook is Dr. Danielle Jennings, and my Instagram is Danny Jen.
Danny Jen. So if you have any questions for her, I'm telling you, this is a woman of wisdom and knowledge. She may, she looks young. And I look young too.
Yes,
but
we
we
look
of a
young.
Certain age. Amen. Praise God.
We are.
Listen, hit her up. Any questions? If you want to hit me up, Cornell DeBose on Facebook, or Let's Talk with Pastor C, Facebook, hit me up. Any questions? We'll be glad to collaborate if we have to and answer your questions. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Danielle Jennings.
Thank you for having me.
And I love you. You know I love you.
I love you, my brother.
Tell my God brother I said hello. Y'all have a good one. Peace.